Right, hello everyone. Sorry for the late start. A bit of a technical hitch. Yes, once again back. Right, what we're going to be talking about tonight. Basically, it's going to be centered around Sadiq Khan, our London mayor. Quite a few people will know, but a lot won't know that Gary, myself, and about 6-7 other people back in 2018 actually placed Sadiq Khan, Keir Starmer, and a number of other MPs under citizen's arrest, and we actually proved evidence of the crimes we accused them of, and the police actually submitted it to CPS and everything, but it got kicked back due to not in the public's interest apparently. But it ties in a lot later on with what the police are saying now and stuff like that. So what we'll do is we'll start off just to bring people up to speed. I'm going to play you the video, the footage of us actually making the arrest, and then once that's finished, me and Gary will sort of go through what happened and have a little talk about it. So the footage of us bear with me. And then once that's finished.
Yeah.
So it's, sorry people, this I haven't used this yet.
It may have been an important slogan once, but women don't stand behind great men. Women power great cities.
Cities built by the women and men who came before us, who committed to fighting for equality.
But these commitments haven't come easy.
They've taken great courage, solidarity and heroes in the face of opposition. 2018 marks 100 years since the first women were given the right to vote.
100 years on, it's time for a new generation of women to make gender equality a reality in London. In 2018, it's time to commit.
To teaching our children, both girls and boys. The opportunity has to be equal. That pay has to be equal. That representation has to be equal. I commit.
I commit.
I commit.
I commit
to honouring those women behind every great city who have made a lasting impact on our society.
In 2018, it is time to commit to making our city the capital of gender equality.
So tell us, London, as we make your New Year's resolutions, what will your commitment be? Behind every great city, and in every great country, we need leadership, courage, and an ambitious vision for the future. And I'm therefore really delighted that our opening speaker this morning is someone who has, as the most powerfully elected Labour politician in the country, a track record of doing all of that. Can I ask you to welcome the former chair of the Fabian Society and now the Labour Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen,
We are here today to make peaceful, non-violent citizens arrests and those being named. They are Sadiq Khan, Keir Starmer, Kate Green MP, Andrew Hannah.
Sorry, we stand under common law jurisdiction. If you touch us, you will be done for common assault. Please stand back. Please stand back. Do not touch us. Do not touch us. Thank you. Do not touch us. Do not touch us. Common law, we have you done for common assault. Do not touch us. We're not leaving. I paid for a ticket. Do not touch me. No, we're not. We paid for a ticket. We paid for a ticket. We paid for a ticket. Okay, so we want the money back for the ticket. You cannot be reimbursed for the ticket.
It's not your turn.
Cannot be reimbursed for the ticket. Cannot be reimbursed for the ticket.
You can sit down
the police have been called, they're on their way.
I know, yes.
The police have been called. The police have been called, they are on their way. Okay? The police have been called, they're on their way.
Could I ask the gentleman to leave and then we can hear from our speaker?
Somewhere far away. The police have been called, they're on their way, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Please don't panic, anybody. Afternoon.
If we're able to keep in a nice, calm environment, so we're ready to proceed, that would be very much appreciated.
They're called the White Dragon. Take back the book.
And when those who would like to speak to the police can do so when they arrive. As soon as we can move on, ladies and gentlemen.
If perhaps sir, you'd like to leave the hall to have a discussion with the journalists, that would be very helpful to everybody. And I'll give it away.
The Fabian Society subverting our English constitution, ladies and gentlemen.
We have a constitution and a Fabian Society subverting our constitution.
There is no discussion.
To all of us. And I think the majority of the meeting would appreciate it if we could continue our discussions.
We'd appreciate it if you didn't.
And you could continue yours with journalists and with your colleagues outside of our.
We'll await the police's arrival, don't mind. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Khan is coming under citizens arrest. He will not be leaving, we'll be waiting for the He has actually. The actual evidence to charge him. Okay, so look at that. Can you sit quietly, please, or just leave? Can you either sit quietly or leave, please?
So you can sit down, gentlemen. We could then continue with our conference. I can assure you, nobody is leaving. So when the police arrive, you'll be able to talk to them.
Sit quietly or leave, please.
Go on, Martha. Good.
Because we're getting. Please sit down, sir. Please sit down.
Can we sit down quietly, please?
When those who would like to speak to the police can do so when they arrive. And those who actually want to have a discussion about the future Labour government can stay in this hall and we can start to have a whole are here to do this morning. And you're very welcome, sir, to come back this afternoon for our European Union discussion. The single market, the customs union, future trading relationships, future security relationships, and many other aspects of our future deal with the European Union later on this afternoon. So please do return to join that breakout session today.
Can we sit down quietly, please?
Very interested, I'm sure.
Can we go back to our seats, please?
Sadiq Khan needs to clean up London and forget about state affairs. That's what that man must do. Hello.
No to the EU. We say no to the EU. The EU, no to the EU, is unlawful. It's a subversion of our constitution. Unlawful.
We are here under Clause 61 of the Magna Carta, here to seize this building.
What we call the Magna Carta. The Bill of Rights, the Constitution. There you go.
Well, we've got tickets.
Why don't you let free speech happen? What you're saying to us, you're not letting our free speech happen.
Everyone here is asked to listen to this person, and you're letting him speak.
We're waiting for the that we dealt with when the police hit. If everyone goes back, we dealt with when the police hit.
You know what the Constitution is?
What a great country, and what are you doing?
Freedom of speech,
destroying it.
Exactly, this is freedom of speech, and we're showing we have a right to freedom of speech. You fight for our freedom of speech. Have a seat, go outside.
You have freedom of speech, but not freedom to interrupt all of our ability.
Carry on.
Google SEO
Which is why we're here. I'm sure
Yes,
we'll
I
be
can.
very shortly.
Would you like to see, please?
But it will be difficult if you've got a parallel debate going on in one corner or another. And that's why I'm suggesting it might be helpful for that to be able to do that.
Signing the Easy Act 1973, got rid of our sovereignty, and it was hidden for 30 years.
I'm sure I'm with you, sir.
It's fact, it's actually fact.
Factual.
If you read the Easy Act 1973, it got rid of your sovereignty without your knowledge. Have a seat.
I told them. What we told them. We're losing, guys. We're losing. It's not going to happen. We're losing. It's not going to happen. That's democracy. We abide by the democratic vote.
17.4 million voted to leave the European Union.
Against democracy.
Have a seat.
You sit down, you just fucking do whatever. Hello.
I think we are going to see the opportunity now to proceed if we can find out perhaps what's going to happen.
Join the discussion. Gentlemen, we're going to see with this process. Sit down. Have a seat.
Don't tell me what to do.
Tell us what to do.
Stand up.
We can't say the conference is a secret conference, and you need to sit down.
If it's subverting our constitution,
Sit down.
Tell us what
you sit down.
Sit down.
you're the church.
Stand up.
Sit down.
Stand up.
Okay, we would like to proceed with our conference. I think these gentlemen would like to have a discussion with police about their concerns and what action they would like taken.
The crimes
It's all in the paper.
yes.
Yeah, as you say, sir, you would like to speak about your concerns,
what I'm
what
doing right
action
now.
you would like to have taken. I believe there are police officers on the premises to have that discussion.
They are shortly. There's a police officer at the premises now, and an inspector
They are coming into the hall.
shortly.
Okay, so we'll just wait for that if that's okay, gentlemen, and then hopefully we'll be able to move on, ladies and gentlemen.
You don't speak for all London, Mr. Khan. And you certainly don't speak for
No, he doesn't.
This discussion is temporarily suspended. I'm
Yeah.
able to manage it.
Funny about democracy. We voted to leave the EU, not stay in it.
Have a seat.
Are you?
That's not very helpful either, if you don't mind. We do have a particular ethos of opinions, which I'm glad to say on the whole.
Yeah, wolfy cheap clothing, subverting the English constitution,
Do any of you actually know
subverting
what the Constitution
democracy.
is?
Sir, I'm not conducting a public debate.
Do you?
You know, no, I am.
Until I as the chair of this meeting, I'm ready to.
You know what it was?
If you would like me to take a sense of the whole meeting, I certainly will. That's
You're treacherous.
I am not telling you to dictate the way this meeting is conducted. That's
Yeah, we don't.
Are you willing to wait just a little longer so we can resolve this particular issue, and then we'll proceed into an open and full debate? Is that the meeting? Thank you very much.
What is the European Union? It's a dictatorship.
Exactly. Yeah.
5 presidents.
European Union army, we weren't told about that, was we?
Unelected.
Yeah, they kept telling us it was bullshit.
Do you realise the male supported Hitler in the last war?
You do realise Hitler was a liberal, Nazis are liberals, which is exactly what you lot are. Killing free speech. Charges have been laid in the paperwork. Sorry, got it. Who are you?
Have you heard of our constitution? Are you aware that we have
The English Constitution?
I'm trying to. Are you aware that we have a constitution like the American constitution? Are you aware of the constitution?
We didn't.
Are you aware of not having this parliament? The government is
People are sovereign, not parliament.
It's subverting our constitution. Please, Mr. Palmer specifically, I said I'm not going to state anything in a document. Exactly what you need to do. At the moment, because I don't know something with the police and having to discuss it.
You got a copy of that paperwork, Gary? All right. The police had one. Dave's got one, hasn't he? I'll give one to him. What happened to Gary? Common law.
Maybe authorities. You don't get this in the progress conference. Even momentum would be envious.
Can I have a refund, by the way?
When the police come tell us we have to leave, no one will touch this, otherwise you'll be under arrest.
Gents, you're being asked to leave. You're being asked to leave.
Can I have a refund then? Do you want a refund?
Yes, we'll process that outside. Please leave the room. Gentlemen, you're being asked to leave lawfully.
Do you know what lawfully is?
You're being asked to leave the room lawfully.
Once the police have carried out their duties.
We all pay for a ticket, so we actually have a legal right to leave. That's the law.
There's also abiding by the rules of the
When everyone abides by the rules of our constitution.
Yeah.
No. You abide by the rules of this conference.
What about our constitution? That's a bit more important than the conference.
I think it trumps the conference.
You wouldn't want someone going into your club and breaking the
But the
rules.
thing is, we allow people to come and speak on us, because that's the whole point about open discussion.
Right.
I'm 100 miles under this conference.
Right, you're being asked legally by the security team here politely to leave.
When the police have come in and carried out their duties, well, once they've carried out their duties,
I'll make it a bit. Sky News. Yeah, momentarily. Right, it seems, ladies and gentlemen, there's an inspector outside that we have to speak to now over these list charges. Sadiq Khan. So we will be back with you momentarily. Unless I leave my phone there, we're going to leave that on the live feed.
Can we do this outside, please?
You're being asked to go outside. And you're being asked very gently to go outside. And
Could you leave for us?
Yeah, sorry.
Listen, don't touch me. Do not touch me. Okay, I'm under common law jurisdiction here. If you touch me, I will have you arrested for common assault. Okay, you can ask me as many times as you like. I paid for a ticket. Unless I get the money back for the ticket, I'm not leaving.
Excuse me, sir. Full ban for my news. This is your chance. Tell us why you're doing this.
Why are we doing this? Because Sadiq Khan doesn't speak for everybody. Sadiq Khan has subverted our constitution. Please don't touch me. Please don't touch me. Please don't touch me.
This outside, please.
No, we can't do this outside. We can't do this outside. No.
Please press.
Why are you disrupting a democratic event? Why would you do that?
Do you know who the Favourite Society are?
Can you please leave the
You
event?
do?
Yeah.
So do you know what they stand for?
Yeah, I do.
Do you know what their coat of arms is?
Let me ask you, what do you object to here?
Can you
What do I
please
object
move
to? The Favourite Society in general. They
can you
subverted
please
every
move
part of
that?
our
Can you please
constitution. They
move that?
subverted our education system, our political system. Do not touch me. Please don't touch me.
I'm not touching.
They've subverted every part of what goes on. You wonder why the country's in such a mess. It's because of people like this. It's the Favourite Society at the root of all of this. Trust me. Please don't touch me.
Sir, you're being asked to leave now. Can you leave?
The lawful rebel is under common law.
Please leave. It's not how we're doing interviews in the public. Can you leave forward, please?
Am I going to get my £45 back?
Yes, outside. Maybe.
Well, I'm sorry. It's not a maybe. I'm sure this is actually. I'm sure this is a civil. I'm sure this is a civil matter, is it not? If I'm being asked to leave,
you're going to get a refund.
A refund. So you're going to pay me to leave?
Yeah, it's all recorded.
Can we take this outside in the forest?
So we have an inspector.
Yeah, we have an inspector.
Hello. How do you do?
There's your charges.
Nobody's born above the law. We're all born equal under the law. Okay, right, okay. So the complaint's been made. Surely it must be investigated.
Yes, it will be investigated. So
you're not going to.
We are going to investigate, but we have to investigate to get the grounds for the arrest.
Well, the grounds for the arrest are all there. Okay.
So let's go read them first. If we leave out there, we can talk this through. No, from here. Want to go through that way?
Yeah. Singing your eye.
You've got your press coverage.
So it won't really about the press coverage. Well, it's meetings like this. It's meetings like this that have got to be stopped, especially when people like that are heading it up.
Well, that's fine.
He doesn't speak for them. That man doesn't speak for
them. He's the mayor. He's been.
He might well be. Well, has he been duly elected? Nobody knows. Really.
No. We don't do citizens' arrest. We do lawful arrests. Okay, we do lawful arrests. So what we'd like you to do is if you follow the gentleman here. Okay, let's be adult about it.
All right, yeah, come on in. Let's.
It's just this way, please. Thank you.
Boom. Boom. There you go. Will they arrest Mr. Khan? Who knows? Let's have a word with the inspector now and see what he makes about that piece of paper. Go on, brother. I'm going to get the refund. I want the refund.
Can I get your name? What was your name, sorry?
Dave. Russell. Well, I want the refund. Yeah.
White Pendragon.
Just the Pendragons. England take back control.
Why did you want to come here today?
Well, because we believe the Favourite Society to be a danger to our political system. It's also a danger to our educational system. It's a danger to what we believe to be the normal running of this country. The Favourite Society have entrenched themselves on all of our political systems, for our education systems. The Favourite Society are not what they. The coat of arms in the Favourite Society is a wolf in sheep's clothing. That should tell you everything you need to know about the Favourite Society. Okay?
Can you give me a specific example of what they've done that you don't
No,
know?
not right now, no. I want to speak to the inspector, please, if that's all right. Where is he? I want to get this sorted out because that man, a complaint's been made, he needs to be arrested and it needs to be investigated.
By law, they have to.
Okay, we're all born equal under the law. Because he's the Mayor of London doesn't make him above the law in any which way, shape or form.
Sorry, sir. We have to use that link to. This is private property, and you guys will pay. Come on, guys, please.
We were invited. We got tickets. We got an email on my phone. Got an email on my phone. Sorry.
Right. So your next step will be you want to try and enforce this.
Full refund, yeah.
Well, not try. I mean, a complaint's been made. If a complaint's made, right? Okay, so that needs to be investigated.
So your complaint is to this place here, the Favourite Society?
No, it's Sadiq Khan. These people are named.
So the procedure would be, right, you would make a phone call to the police and make an allegation that way. That's how it's done.
Allegation been made,
Right. You should use this as evidence as your grounds to make that allegation. That's how it works.
So you want another phone call reiterating exactly what's
and
on
then
there.
after that, it will be duly investigated by the appropriate police services.
Can you assure us personally that it will be investigated and we will get results?
But we are duty bound to investigate any allegations of wrongdoing by law, as you quite rightly were. Now, you've quite rightly quoted some very old acts here, which are still current.
Yes, they are. That's
All right. So these will be duly investigated by the appropriate authorities within the Metropolitan Police Service.
Under the carpet.
I doubt it.
I don't think
no,
so.
They will. They will investigate. Okay, because these, let's face it, they need a bit of reading up on this.
Yes, exactly.
It's not exactly law from yesterday. So it needs, exactly. So
the English Constitution and our sovereign rights.
Right.
This is what they've been doing.
Okay.
So
are you guys happy now that you've made your point to Mr. Sedan?
I think so.
We're here because we want you to be able to turn to your old jobs, not statute law. So we want you to be able to the law of the land, common law, so you don't have situations where you feel.
Do you mind heading out?
Secretary,
Proud of our police force.
Thank you very much.
Very, very proud of you.
I appreciate your support.
Proud of our police force.
Thank you, officer, for your understanding.
No problem at all. No problem at all.
Can you go in there and dig the secretariat because we all want our money back as he promised?
I will speak to the organizer.
Let's talk to the management.
That's that way in the refunds, is it?
Okay, but in the meantime, if we could, let's take this hotline and we'll go outside and we can talk a bit more about it.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well done!
Well done. Oh, boys. Thank you, officers.
You'll have to unmute, Gary.
Oh, sound. It's better.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. That's how things. I mean, that's not. I borrowed that video off of Kelly and Eve. Thank you, Kelly and Eve, for doing the video. There was a few factual errors. For instance, it's under Section 3 of the Criminal Law Act of 1967, not 76, and that's the reason why I was there. That's why they couldn't remove us. I mean, we legally had the right to be there because we bought a ticket, so we didn't trespass. And even if we did trespass, it's a civil matter, not a criminal matter. And was there to make a citizen's arrest. So the security actually trying to get you would argue was basically a version of force of justice. But as you heard, was it the chief superintendent of the Metropolitan Police at the end? Every law we quoted and everything we said was correct, to the fact where the police did actually investigate them crimes and they backed us. Like we proved evidence of crimes committed. The police admitted that and submitted to CPS. It's just it was blocked.
Yeah. And basically, that we did it the correct way. We didn't know shout the ball over the top of each other. We had certain roles. David was a spokesman. I read all the charges out. You also was a spokesman, and the others was just making sure nobody touched us, basically. If they did come every hand.
I was meant to be a spokesman, but I was also having to run around all the police and security and notify them in the law and sort of state our purpose in it.
Well,
good evening, gentlemen, by the way.
David,
anyway, sorry.
Hello, Stephen.
Hello, this is Stephen Lang. Quite a few of you know him. This is Stephen Lang from Restoration Radio. If you get a chance, please check out restorationradio.com. More than worth it. You won't regret it. One of the very few places that you can go where you will hear free speech.
Very interesting video that is, and it still is to this day.
I mean, there's a lot that's said in there that, I mean, for instance, like the constable said, all the laws and everything we quoted was correct. We was there under citizen's arrest. Our position and everything was correct. We was asked if we wanted to go somewhere more. Would we go somewhere more quiet because the crowd was getting a bit lively and everyone was around us. That's why we actually left the room. We wasn't escorted out. It was on our free will.
It might be more interesting now that the police have gone against Khan now and actually turned their back on him.
This is the thing. I mean, I think personally, like I said, they backed us back then. I mean, not at first. What happened is we done it with the Pendragons, but as we was chasing up the charges and the police, it took quite a long time, and we had to really like hound. I mean, the CMW team, Susie, the others that was on it, smashed it. me, myself, Gary, and the team really pushed. I mean, we really pushed, and the police did back us. The police did back us. They gave us the correct reference number and everything. We've got evidence where they state quite clearly it's evidence of crimes committed is proven. That's why they submitted it to CPS. So the police may have had their wants with Carnan to remove him back then, but it's CPS that blocks it. And it's like, I don't know how many people was on here for the last show, but Albert, who's an ex-special constable, who's very familiar with police procedure, himself said in his duties, he offered to actually arrest the CPS officer because he wouldn't do his job. Now, the police actually have that option now. They can resubmit, if we do a bit of public pushing, the police can resubmit them charges, and if they don't do it, the police can arrest the CPS for perversion of course of justice. But it needs public backing for it. It needs public backing.
Well, it needs public backing if you go that route, though. You see, the thing is, it's like I said to you, right? Now, because they have lost confidence and they have publicly announced that they have lost confidence in the London mayor, right? Well, maybe they'll have another look at things that might improve their case. But
well, if they want something,
they're only going to know, but they're only going to know that if they're pointed in that direction, right? So somewhere or another, it doesn't mean that we have to reproduce all the evidence again. You just have to reproduce the crime number and remind them of the crime number, because all of that information is still on record.
Yeah,
it's still in files. It's a cold case, basically.
I mean, people won't be aware, but myself and Gary left the Pendragons and we co-founded Constitution Movement Worldwide. It was actually Constitution Movement Worldwide that took over.
Traitors you were.
Well, we had no choice, but it was CMW actually took over and was the ones that pushed it, and we did get the right number. So we've got all the details we need to actually get this pushed back again and to get it highlighted again.
Well, the White Pendragons ain't gone anywhere either, because we're still here, because I'm still here, exactly. And as long as I'm here, the White Pendragons are still here.
I know.
Gary. How's the Ukraine border, mate? How's the Ukraine border? You're only up the road from now. What's going on? Because there ain't, funny enough, there ain't no mainstream media on the border like there were Afghanistan, Iraq, the Falkland Islands. No. There was mainstream media there reporting live from the scene. How comes there's none there with the Ukraine border? What's going on, mate? Is it another scam? Is it?
Well, there's nothing going on, Steve. I mean, when they've brought them illegals onto the border, Belarusian border, there's plenty of mainstream media there then for that propaganda. But there's nothing going on at all.
Is there any any troops kicking your door down during the day and everything?
No. Oh, you'll know when it goes off, because I'll be able to put the phone up the window and you'll see all the helicopters and that flying across. And
well,
you've got a ringside seat to it all, haven't you? Being in
130,000 troops. They're saying that is on the border of Ukraine. You're in. Where are you? You're in
Belarus.
Right.
But there's 40,000. There's 40,000 troops ready to go here.
Have you seen any Americans? Have you seen any Americans trooping around and grabbing older women and kissing them up like they did in 1944?
No, I'll get that here, mate. But what the people don't realise is I've been coming here now since 2013, 14, on and off. I've lived here now for 12 months because I'm stuck here at the minute because of the sanctions that idiot's put on.
No, it's because you're still spying for the Russians. Tell the bleeding truth.
But,
don't say that on here.
all the while I've been coming here, Steve, since 2013, there's always been Russian troops in Ukraine because that conflict's been going on that long.
Yeah, I know that. That's what people don't understand. They've been there for many years, mate. This ain't nothing new.
Yeah. No.
Mind you, it might be the amount, though. 130,000, it's a little bit different maybe this time, yeah?
Fair point.
I can't see there being 130,000. I think they've exaggerated it, like they were saying at the border. Look at all these immigrants here. There's thousands and thousands of them, and none of them have got any money and all this, that, and the other. And Lukashenko sent somebody in plain clothes, obviously, to go and mingle with them. And he got the footage, and he come back and he put it on Belarusian television, and he went, "Look at these, supposed to have no money. They've got dirty, muddy tracksuits on." He said, "But if you look beyond this, because the zips was like down just below the chest," and he was saying, "If you look past the zip, they've got brand new clean clothes underneath there. Look at the phones they're all carrying. They're all carrying up to date, the most up to date phones you can get, and they've all got wads, and I mean wads like this thick, of American dollars."
Yeah. What I can't understand is, I mean, if you look at all the mainstream media, whenever we've been involved, whether it had been Afghanistan, Iraq, you go right back to, you know, whatever campaign we've been involved in, even the Falkland Islands, there were news reporters reporting from the scene live. They're saying, this is what's going on. You know, there are rockets flying over our heads, and you can see it. You know, it happened in Afghanistan, it happened in Iraq, it happened in, you know, even the Falkland Islands. How comes we ain't seen any of that on the Ukraine border then? How comes there's no BBC reporter live there going, this is what's going on, folks. Everybody's being fucking slaughtered. It ain't happening. What's going on? So how comes we ain't seeing that now? How comes we're just being told that there are 130,000 Russian fucking troops on the border? And
language.
Sorry.
It's not Restoration Radio tonight, Mr.
We're controlled by. I didn't realise we was under Ofcom rules. I do beg your pardon.
Maybe it's the same reason why Gary can't get back here, because of sanctions. The reporters can't get out.
No, Gary don't want to come back because he's still waiting to be paid by the oligarchs for all the spying he's been doing all the months he's been out there.
Right. Yeah. Right. Let's get back on track, because we do need to explain this and talk about
go on,
this.
mate. I'll shut up. Carry on. It's your show.
Well, no, we'll add to conversation overnight. As Mr.
Nice to see Den's in here, even though he's muted and ain't saying nothing. Good to see him there.
Hopefully he'll pipe up at some point. But as Mr. Lang pointed out.
Oh, evening, son.
Evening. You're right.
Good brother.
Just saw 2 sets.
As Mr. Lang pointed out when he first come on, the Met Police have actually publicly stated that they have a vote of no confidence in Sadiq Khan as London Mayor. We've had no confidence. In fact, we know that he's been criminal as well as Keir Starmer and many other MPs for a very long time. But it's getting to the point now where this isn't just us, the people, that are thinking this. We're now getting establishments like the Metropolitan Police that have no confidence in that man's ability. So it needs to be done. This is I personally think this is where we could see the public and the police building a bridge and coming back together. If the public back the police and the police back the public, we can see something done about this man. And I think that's the way we need to go.
Depends who they put in power, doesn't it? Who they put in the place of Cressida Dick, really. It all depends who they stick in place. You could have somebody who's going to be like Cressida, or somebody who will do exactly what you say. Let's hope that they put somebody in place that might be a little bit more open to that sort of thing, Nave.
Well, it's like you said the other night, Stephen. Khan is trying to block Crescenda's golden handshake and her little purse that she gets for leaving. So before she leaves office, she may want to sort of push a certain case. I don't know.
He needs to protect whatever funds he's likely to get, because don't forget he's going to probably bust TfL yet again, probably for the 3rd time, because he's done it twice already. So he needs another load of millions from the taxpayer to prop it up, because he keeps paying all his staff over £100,000 a week. You know, when you've got a lot of staff, right, and nobody knows who they are or what they're doing, but he's got an office full of staff that are being paid over 100 grand a week, right? While you got bus drivers being paid something like about £13-14 an hour. I mean, do me a favour. It ain't going to the bus drivers. Where's it going? Right?
Well,
A bus driver will have to work all his life to be paid what they're paid every month.
Exactly. He may actually be blocking it with Crescendo Dick because maybe there's no money in the coffers. Maybe it's all gone.
Exactly.
We don't know. And this is the thing. This is why there needs to be an investigation, a proper investigation.
Absolutely.
I mean, not just in the crimes that we've put forward, because we can still add to them charges actually under that crime number. So CMW may stick a few more in yet. We don't know yet, but more than likely. But it could be that this is the thing. The man needs to be investigated. It's like you say, his staff have a lot of money. I mean, we're talking about the first London mayor in the history of our nation that has an armoured vehicle that specs either match or outdo that of an American president. I mean, Sadiq Khan actually has, through taxpayers' money, I believe, don't quote me on it, but I do believe it's taxpayers' money that paid for it, a heavily armoured vehicle, because he's afraid of being attacked. It's ridiculous.
Well, you've only
this is the
got to
thing.
look at you've only got to look at the damages done to the underground with the funding alone.
Well, this is it.
It's incredible. Then, like you say, with the knife crime that's got shot through the roof and everything else, and people said we went after him because of his certain religion. No, it wasn't nothing to do with being a certain religion. It was to do with he's incompetent.
I mean, there is aspects to the fact that under our constitution, that man shouldn't have been in that office in the first place. That is a fact. But there was actually 5 MPs we arrested on that day, and most of them were white. So it was nothing to do with race or racism or anything like that. It was purely down to malfeasance in the public office, misappropriation of public funds, sedition, misprision of treason, high treason, and a few others. Pretty much most of the top end of the crimes you commit, they're actually guilty of. This is the thing. This is what people need to realise.
Evening, guys.
Go on, then.
Evening, Rick.
I was just going to add. Evening, Gary. Evening, everyone. I was just that we've also got the power of information with the tourism. They to the pension that they've been told is actually half that, and we've actually got it on deal. Some of the police did his research into it all, and he agreed with us on Glim safe. You know, my pension safe because I've been in the job for 20. I've been lied to, sort of thing, and I find it very disingenuous. He said that all on camera. So we have got a tool where we're investing. Not only us have been lied to, you've been lied to as well. You know, building a bridge there with the police. There is some. You know, we've got to use whatever tools we've got.
You cut out a little bit there, Rick, so I'll just explain. What Rick's talking about is basically the police pension. A lot of people don't realise this. I think it's after 89, I think. Anybody who entered the police after 89, their pension fund it's gone. To the point where they've had to borrow money to put back into it, to the point where most police's pension are going to be a quarter to half of what it should be. Most of them don't know that yet. But as Rick said, they're starting to, and this is with people notifying them, and there has actually been constables on record that have stated this, as Rick just said. So they're starting to realise themselves.
I mean, how many police have we informed about that knife on the marches when they've come across and we've gone, well, you need to do some research because your pension ain't what it was, and then we've seen them on the next march, and they've recognised us and they've come out and they went, I've done that research, you bang on.
Look at that sergeant. Look at that sergeant that made a beeline to come over to me and was like, "Yeah, I've had a look. Have you got anything else? I've had a look. It's all checking out." And actually asked me, "What can he do? What can they do about it?" So I told him, "Well, we need to start actually prosecuting these people." I mean, as far as what's happening with the police and Sadiq Khan, I mean, it's not just happening with the police, and this is the thing. I mean, this is just one area it's being hit. I mean, you're getting nurses, doctors, basically a lot of emergency workers pretty much across the board are getting hit because most of them have to travel through areas of London or into London to get to their work. So they're having to pay a lot of their wages to Sadiq Khan's office through driving down the road. When technically speaking, I've always said, in my opinion, they shouldn't have to pay. If you are an emergency worker, you shouldn't have to pay the charges and stuff like that. You should get it for free, same as parking. I mean, we've still got the situation where nurses and doctors have to pay to park at the hospital. This is a joke.
Yeah.
And we've got middle management, again, making 3-figure numbers a year that never get told they can't have to park anywhere. They get their own special parking place. Ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, you've only got to look at how much the parking, not the parking, when you drive into London, you see all the big C's in the middle of the road, where it's congestion charges. Look how quickly that went from £8 and it just shot up through the roof, and nobody questioned it. That's why they're doing it as well, because people don't question it; they just accept. You know,
2 seconds.
If you're just going to accept it, you go on.
Is it cut out? Still there, Gary?
Yeah. If you're gonna just blindly accept anything that they do to you like that, overnight it just more or less doubled the price of congestion charges, then you're asking for trouble yourself. You've got to, what's the reason? You've got to go, Mr. Lang.
Oh, you can't take him anywhere, can you?
No, I've just changed.
Have a look at his name.
I just changed my name, Gary.
Just what?
Look at his name. Can't take this man anywhere. I'm telling you, he's worse on Restoration Radio.
I'm now known as Vladimir Putin.
Well, I just before we carry on, I want to answer. We've got young Alex in the chat, who most people are known as Toot Leave Alex, a young man who does a lot of work with veterans and stuff like that. He's asked if we can do it again. Alex, the answer to that is yes, we can do it again. We've been asked to, and we've thought about it, but you have to make sure everything you do is correct, or the charges get reversed and you get charged yourself. So it has to be done properly, and you have to have the backing. It's kind of pointless for us to keep putting our necks on the block and keep doing it if people are just going to ignore it. So if people really start to get behind it and they want these people prosecuted, then fair enough. As we said in the other show, we'll get a committee together of people like Chrissy Morris and all our other people from other groups. We'll get a few leaders together. We'll make a committee. We'll decide who's going when, and we'll start doing it. And we'll get them arrested. But it needs the backing. And this is the thing people got to understand. It's everybody's duty to uphold the laws in their community. So it's our duty to uphold the law, not the police. The police just enforce the law. So unless we uphold these laws and hold these people to account, the police technically can't enforce it. So you've got to remember that.
We're all, what do you call it? We're all police by consent. Right?
Yeah, we are. Everybody's police. It's just the police are basically they take an office, basically an oath office, which means they dedicate all their time to enforcing crime, whereas we do it.
Walk down a high street, Nathan. Walk down a high street where you live, right, and put that question to people as you go shopping, right, and go and ask people what consent means about police by consent. I guarantee you most of them won't be able to give you the answer, right? So you see, the problem is understanding, and it's a problem. People say it's education. It's not education, really, and it don't mean that they're stupid. It just means that they haven't had time to understand all this because it's been dropped on their doorstep all of a sudden. Right. And the only time that it really bothers people is when it starts to kick their own door down. And then it's groups like yourself and the Pendragons and many other groups in the past that have done the same thing. I've been doing this for I'm pushing 20 years now, right? Along with other people. And the situation hasn't got any better. It's got worse, in fact, right? It's just the fact of the matter is, what's opened up, the internet has opened up Pandora's box, which we have spoken about many times in the past on previous shows. And it's given people more information and access to information that they never got before. Right.
Well, this is the thing. So this is the thing. So it basically is education, and this is like in the video. It was mentioned. The Fabian Society are actually fully to blame for removing a lot of our education from our education system. They're to blame for the change to Common Core learning in '83 and things like that. There's a lot more than people know.
Yeah, but that's because they're Marxist, communist, progressive socialists. That's what they are. They're basically the same situation that you had in Nazi Germany all those years ago, but people can't get a grasp of that. It's very difficult for people to understand something when they haven't experienced it. You know, you can watch it on the TV, you can watch the History Channel, you can watch all the War Channel or whatever, but it don't quite hit home because when it's on the TV, it's not reality. It doesn't work that way.
Well, yeah,
so
because
people can watch it. Yeah, but people can watch it on the TV. It don't quite tick the numbers, right? Because what it does is people can watch it, but they can turn it off. When there's something on there that they don't quite like, they change the channel, right? But years ago, when that was going on,
do that on my Facebook page.
You couldn't change the channel back then. You had no option. You were living with it, right? That's the difference that none of us understand, really, apart from a few of us that can quite grasp it and actually put it into words, if you like. But most people can't do that. I mean, you ask the Russians about, you ask the Polish about what happened with them in the Second World War, right? You ask the Russians and how much shit they went through in the Second World War, right? You ask the Germans soldiers what happened to them because they were stupid enough to try and take the Russians when it was so freezing cold and they froze to death. Ask them, ask those people, but you can't because most of them are dying off, right? So you can't do that anymore. So no one's got the experience of that anymore. No one's got it. And these people in power know that. And that's how they control you because you can't do it, which is why you can watch it on the TV, right? Because they know darn well that people, when they watch the TV, they can't transpose that into reality because you can switch it off. You can turn it off. You can ignore it. You can go and watch celebrity suicides or whatever you want to watch. You know, at the end of the day, you can turn that off. Anything on the TV is not reality, right?
Well, it's exactly as you say. It's exactly say the phrase you said sort of sums it up. Most people say, "Well, when it comes to my door," but the problem is when it's kicking your door through,
it's already there. It's already at your door. It's already at your door. This is the thing, right? But people can't understand that. I'm talking about the most severe cases. Years ago, when the Germans, you know, going through Poland or wherever, used to kick the door down, take you out, drag you out and send you off to Auschwitz and whatever. None of us understand what that was all about. None of us understand and can really grasp what those people went through back in them days.
Well, the people back in them days actually went through propaganda themselves. I mean, there was propaganda being used back then. The people didn't understand what was going on at the time. So,
and what do you think they're doing today? They're doing the same thing today as what they done back then. They're just using the internet to do it. They're just using technology now, right? It's no different. They're using the same frigging system that they used back in Roman times. But because people's education these days is so piss poor, and I've got to say it, right, that they can't work it out. It's only like people of my age, Gary's age, and yours maybe, even though you're a young man, even though you look older than Gary anyway.
Oh, thank you very much. Right, 2 seconds. I just need to answer a question from Steve J. Sleep. He's asked, is consent a signature? Consent can be a signature. There's different kinds of consent. There's applied, tacit consent, applied consent, tacit consent, verbal consent, signatorial consent. There's a few versions of consent. I mean, most of the ones that are used against us are applied or implied and tacit consent. Basically, if you don't say no and make it your opinion known that you don't disagree,
You
then they
forgot
will
one,
take it
though.
as you
You
agree.
forgot one. What about consent when you put a rope round someone's neck and they say to you, "Don't do it, I'm consenting"?
Well, this is the thing. Under the law, you cannot consent to battery or any harm. So you
well,
can
we'll
consent
see
to it
about
anyway.
that. Yeah.
You can't. Under the law, you cannot consent to someone to harm you. It's battery. It is against the law. Even with consent, it's still a crime.
When you fill a form in online, and in the bottom, when you filled all the form in, it says in the bottom in a little green box saying submit.
See, this is the thing. Wording is very key to a lot of things. I mean, I say this to most people I say this to most people who I speak to or who ask me questions. Buy yourself an Oxford Dictionary of Law. Okay, an Oxford Dictionary of Law. A lot of people keep referring to Black's Law, but we don't refer to Black's Law in our courts and haven't done for some time. America does, Philippines, there's other places, but here in England and the UK, we use the Oxford Dictionary of Law. Have a look at the difference of definitions between the Oxford English Dictionary and the Oxford Dictionary of Law, because the legal definitions of the words you're using mean completely different to what you're taught they mean. Have a look. If you're ever going to buy a book, buy the English Oxford Dictionary of Law and just go through it. Just pick out some words like, for instance, birth,
I used to buy it.
registration.
The last book I brought was Readers' Wives and Shaven Ravens.
Remember, this is YouTube, not restoration. So you can't take you anywhere.
Yeah.
See, this is just a taste, people. You need to jump onto Restoration Radio because on Restoration Radio there is kind of no rules. It's complete free speech.
Well, yeah,
it is one of them places. So we can do a lot more, and we get away with a lot more. I mean, I've just had a video taken down. I did in my last live, so I'm trying to keep this one up. So we need to keep it kind of clean and off certain subjects.
Oh, I've only sworn twice yet. I'm still in.
Doing well, Mr. Lang.
Right there, that's where now consent left, right. Like it's last.
Then get yourself a better signal, mate, because you're breaking up. We're only getting every other word.
Really?
Go and stand outside or something.
Hold your hand up in the air and shout.
We're getting. You remember that comedian years ago? He used to go up microphone.
Norman Collier.
Norman Collier, that's the one, Gary. We want to hear everything you say. Then go and listen. Pull the aerial up or something. You remember them phones that had an aerial on?
Stand by the window, hold your hand up in the air and shout on loudspeaker.
Yeah.
We might get you then.
Yeah. Take that tinfoil hat off. We're only getting every other word.
Sorry, Dan, what you saying? Sorry, Rick. Crack on.
You hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
No, it was a good point with the radio should be being used now. You know, everywhere.
Stay where you are.
So, stay where. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's where we need to be now. People will see it as 2 steps in all the technology, but to me, the generation moved on. Anyway, radio to me is exactly the right thing to get. To me, I think we're fishing in the same pool of people and growing. It just don't seem should be expanding to the greater public. To me, you've got 10% on the left, 10% on it, and 80% of the population which can see the problem. Right about now, I imagine want lawful solutions to the problems. I think we've got to be reaching out to them people which are not in any of these groups or platforms. So there is ways of doing it, you know. There is ways of doing it. It's just
this is where the people need to. I mean, it's like kind of like you say. It's going back to the old. It's going back to like the phone tree situation where somebody tells someone and then they tell someone, they tell someone. We need to start spreading this out. People need to start coming together. This is why I do think we need a committee, and then we can start getting this out further to people, because there is, like Rick just said, massive swathes of society that doesn't come on YouTube to watch things like this. They're not on Facebook. They're not on most of the platforms or bother with anything. They're just, all they're seeing is information that they're drip fed. So Rick's exactly right. We are going to have to start, all of us, taking responsibility to get the right information out and to get this sorted.
Well, me and Steve said it before. We've talked about it many times, and you know, we have Mr. Lang, where we've said each area needs a certain amount of people who can raise a bit of money, print the leaflets off, and start leaflet dropping through people's letterboxes again, like they used to in the old days.
But you have to
get the information in the houses that way.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the thing is, right, consistency is the key, right? You have to be consistent. None of us have really done that over the last few years anyway. There's always been some sort of problem, even with me in Restoration Radio, but that was due to my health. But the other side of it is consistency is the key. If you've got to keep going, because there's what we have to learn, really, I think, is take a leaf out of the left's book, because there's one thing that they are is consistent, right? Yeah. And that is the thing, right? So what we get is you got the one side where we've got the technical issues and one thing and another, and also being filtered by Facebook, etc., and banned and one thing and another. We're always going to get that. So it doesn't matter what sort of platform that you're going to use. It's always you're going to be under a certain limitation as to what you can say, what you can do, this, that, and the other. But after the witching hour, you get away with a bit more. It's the same as GB News. If you've ever watched GB News, only watch it after 9 o'clock at night, because there's absolutely no point watching it before that.
The old watershed.
Yeah, because after 9 o'clock at night, they allow them a lot more leeway, right? So they get away. You know, if you've ever watched it, watch it after 9 o'clock. Don't watch it before, because it's a complete waste of time. You know, it's very difficult. But like Gary says, really what you need to do is to go back to the old world, although use the new world, which is what we've got with the internet, where we never had that years ago, and we had to use phone boxes to get in touch with each other, or actually write letters. Do you remember that? Do you remember writing letters? Yeah,
still do.
Right, exactly. Right, nobody does it anymore, do they? Right, they send emails, they do this, they do that. Wait till they cut the fucking electric off, and then you can't send nothing, right? You can't even get on here. But anyway, the fact of the matter, sorry for that swear word, by the way. I beg my pardon. But at the end of the day, right, that's what you have to do. Sometimes you have to go back to use what technology you've got and what tools you've got at hand, but you have to sometimes revert back to the beginning and what we did back then. And what we did back then, we went out and we got someone to print a load of leaflets out, and we got people to go out and stuff them through people's letterboxes. Okay, a lot of people would just look at it and go, what's this crack? You know, what's that? Go like that and throw it in the bin, right? That's going to happen. But there'll be some people that will go, hold on a minute, that rings a bell. Right.
Well, this is the thing. I mean,
back to that, and that might be somebody who has never tuned into a video like this, who's never been on Facebook or somebody like that, but they get a leaflet through their door and they read it. Who knows? You know,
well, this is the thing. I mean, both Pendragons and CMW, we're not funded. We don't crowdfund. We don't have any funding. Everything that's done is purely, it's basically everybody clubbing together. So it's.
What do you mean? You're not like Graham Moore then?
No, I mean, I don't like that. I don't like pot noodles that much. But what we do, in generally speaking, is like, because if you've got like CMW, a group of people who are willing to do it, all it takes is somebody with a printer. You make the leaflet public. Then, even if you just print off 50 leaflets a time, because that's all you can afford to do, and go out and put in 50 houses.
100 people print off. How many people are listening tonight? I don't know. You don't know. We don't know.
Well, I've got 3 devices showing. I've got like 3 different numbers of people, so I don't know.
Right. So all of those people that are listening tonight print off 10 leaflets or 50 leaflets, and they go and post them through the door. Right. Even if you got a small amount of those people, right, that responded to the leaflets, you've got somewhere, right? And that's why we all do it. That's why I've been carrying on for all these years.
It only takes
Otherwise,
10%. That's all it takes.
if I thought it was a waste of time, I wouldn't be here now. I wouldn't even be on this show. I've carried on because that's all we can do. We use what tools we've got.
I mean, everybody on
disposal.
here. Yeah. I mean, everybody on here. I think we'd all agree that we've been doing this for more years than we'd probably care to admit to, really.
Well, more than we really thought we'd ever do, because we thought it would all turn around a lot sooner than we. None of us ever thought when we started all this. None of us ever thought we would turn around and still be here 10, 20, 15 years later or whatever, still doing the same thing, because we thought this is brilliant. This is going to work. We've got now access to internet. We can do radio shows. We can do this, and it's got even better than that. Now we can do video. We can all see each other, and everybody else can see us. So we think to ourselves, okay, we're putting our faces out there. We're putting our necks on the line. David Russell's done it for years. Gary's done it. You've done it, right? And other people have done it before us. But
well, there was no. I mean, this is how long we've been doing it. There was no truth movement when we all started.
Well, exactly.
It come after we already started doing all that stuff. So that's how long we've been doing it, and we're still doing it.
We're still here.
I mean, we do take time out. I mean, it's like with CMW, quite a few of us have been working with courts and other things like that, so we haven't been in the public as much as we would do because we've been proving things. So
you know the real problem, right? The real problem is what it's actually done. It's exposed all the liars, the cheats, the robbers, the thieves, the perverts, and people like Den and other people have exposed people like that, right? And that's the good thing that they have done, right? That is valuable more than anything. Right, is to be able to expose those sort of people, because they feed off of other people's weaknesses, right? And we have never done that. All we ever did was we tried to put information out there, and there was no GoFundMe page and all that old nonsense. Nobody ever wanted any money for it, but people that come along at the time did that. So when you get people like Den, right, and they get attacked because what they're doing is exposing their lies and their bullshit. Why do you think they're attacking people like that, right? Yeah. They're attacking them because they're a threat to their livelihoods. Exactly. The fact that they're out there to make money from the information that everybody wants, everybody craves, because we all want answers, right? So somebody comes along, gives the answers, they might be right, but all of a sudden it says, and you can subscribe and pay to this little doings here. And if you don't, agree with me, you'll be kicked off. And who do we know that's done that? Right? We all know people like that. Okay.
I mean,
so
there's groups.
When you get people that expose those people, that's why they get attacked. Yeah. Right? Remember that.
Yeah, the truth never fears being questioned, but a lie will.
The truth will always out. The truth will always out. No matter how long it takes, it will always come out. Look at what's coming out now. Eventually, everything else will come out. It's only a matter of time. I keep saying it. I've said it for many years.
Sorry.
This one, Mr. To me, this is where a common pool of information would benefit to everybody. I mean, I don't know where, but Jada Franson, she's doing a paper at the moment. People are literally chasing the people that are giving on the road, and maybe it's a thing of trying to get everyone together to get the information out there. In many ways, if we could get stuff put in that paper and stuff, that would be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's all we can do then. At the end of the day, we can only use the tools that we have got access to.
That's it. I honestly think it's been a thing. Many people do, but nobody. There's never been a time where we've all got and we get doing this, that, and the other. All it focus on one point of attack. Put the pressure in one place.
Yes, exactly. It goes off in too many directions. I agree with you. It should be focused on one thing.
Well, this is the thing. This has been the constant with what we've all done over the years, i.e. with the Constitution, common law, because it pretty much, the Constitution and common law has remedies for most of our problems. It's just people have to start focusing on the remedy rather than focus on the problems. And it's like Rick says, what we need to do is we need to get a lot of leaders of groups and other people to drop the egos, just come to the table and talk. What's the problem? What's the problem with talking? It's
No,
talking.
you
don't have to agree to anything. You can walk away after and say sod it, but you might come to the table, you might hear something you like, and it might work.
It's like a lot of things, Nathan. There's never been really much. There's never been really much discussion over many things. You know, you can put that right down to the vaccines and one thing and another. It was all cancel culture, right? Yeah. So there was never really much discussion over it because it was cancelled out. You know, if people that decided that it wasn't the right thing for them, they were branded as an anti-vaxxer. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I was someone who decided that it weren't right for me, right? That don't mean I'm an anti-vaxxer. There are many good vaccines out there. Otherwise, you wouldn't have polio, diphtheria, hepatitis B, C, and all that. There are plenty of good vaccines out there. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I just decided it weren't right for me, right? That was my decision. Okay.
I normally wouldn't do this, but we're on YouTube. We can't talk about that subject.
We can talk about anything.
No, listen. We can't, because that's what got my last live taken down. And
we'll just flick it over to restoration then. We can talk about anything.
Well, yeah, but when you want to do restoration, I mean, it's like if you want to try and think that now.
The trouble is we haven't got the videos.
No, this is the thing. But this is the thing. This is what people don't realise about restoration.
Everybody wants to see everybody these days. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, this is the thing.
We could do that though. To be fair, could do fair. Anything? Say we've got any topics that get brought up like now, mark them down, write them down or something, and then we could drop a link into this, and then go off this onto Restoration Radio, which will pull people over there. If you get what I mean?
Yeah. That's very true.
Might be worth a try, just for a bit of a better as well, you know, where you can speak openly and not have to go, I'll have to censor myself.
Well, yeah, I mean,
the pressure's on you now, Steve, because you've now got
not
to
really.
a restoration.
The thing is with me, right? I get good days and bad days. I can do shit. I can do stuff like I'm doing now, right? But there are times when I can't do it. So I've become unreliable, if you like. If you look at it that way, I can't do what I used to do because I get good days and bad days. But what I need to do is get somebody that I can trust and that I can give that information so that you can log on maybe and do the show. Because that's possible. Believe me.
All you need is one of us tech savvy enough to do it.
Well, you are, of course you are. If you can do what you're doing now, you're tech savvy enough, believe me, because it's very simple. Right. It's a lot simpler than this, believe it or not. So you can do it.
More than a possibility then. But this is the thing, like I said, this is where we're starting to get solutions. This is where we're starting to move forward because, like I said, we can't talk about certain subjects on here, but we can on restoration. So we can now think about doing a show on restoration, and the subjects that we can't talk about on here will be spoke about on their people. Restorationradio.com. Check it out. Hosted by our very own co.uk, sorry. Hosted by our very own Stephen Lang. Usually got me and Gary, and it's actually, I mean, it's quite a good show because you have Americans, you have us on, you got people like Rafi from Holland. If you haven't ever listened to one, I suggest you do.
We have Jim on in his chaps.
Jim? Well, Jim from Texas.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing with Jim is he will piss people off anyway. You know, that's his sole intention is to do that. But then, you know, that doesn't make him a bad person. He's just got one of those sense of humours. He's a Texan. You know, you've got to understand what Texans are like.
Well, you don't need that. Explains it all. He's a Texan. That's it.
Well,
done.
Texans are loud. They're loud, they're big, they're obnoxious. Most of them are 6'5". You know, they are like that. And you have to understand that that's what they're like. The reason why they like it is because they have a reason to be like it, because they have never bowed down to anybody. They're the ones that have the flag that says, you want to come and get our guns? Come and take them, it says, right? Come and take them. Then listen, these people, it's a state within a lot of states, right? It's one of the biggest states in the whole of the US. Don't forget, you can fit this country in the state of Texas and still have room to spare. The whole country, this whole British Isles fits in that. Right?
Yeah.
So
Easily.
you have to understand that they have a reason to be that confident, right? And that's what we need to get back in this country. We used to be like that. We used to have that confidence.
It's like what I was saying earlier about the consent and acquiescing. I mean, we used to be known as a nation of complainers, and the reason why we was known as a nation of complainers because we knew what acquiescence was. We knew that if we didn't stand up and say something, it meant we agreed with it and allowed it to happen. We need to get that back.
Yeah,
I mean, start complaining. Complain.
Absolutely.
Just, I don't know. Bring back points of view.
I mean,
Come on, let's have a little complain.
Yeah.
How many times have we said it now over the last 2.5 years, well, last 3 or 4 years since we started doing the lives? I mean, we've been doing it years, but we've been doing the lives about 4 or 5 years. But we've been saying from day one, all you need to do, the people as individuals, is have some belief in yourself.
Yeah.
Have some belief in yourself, lose the fear, and you'll see there's absolutely nothing to fear because your constitution and your inalienable rights will protect you. 1000% will protect you if you use them properly. And if you use them properly, and if you use them and enact them properly as a unit, you become even more powerful.
Exactly. Power in numbers, as they say, especially like you say. Look, I mean, look at what happened with us at the Fabian Society. There was a group of us. There was power in numbers. If one person tried going in there, don't think it would have happened how it did. But there was a small group of us. So in that group, we had power because we stood by our inalienable rights and we stood by what we deemed was the right thing to do. And that's where
but listen,
power lies.
Gary, would you say you're a confident man?
Yeah, I'd say I'm pretty confident, yeah.
Right. Well, that's where you have to start. What you have to understand is most people haven't got that confidence, right? It's a psychological thing. Most people haven't got that outright confidence, right? So confidence is something that you get from what? You get it from your parents first, right? And how you've been brought up. You get it then from the education maybe that you've got, but it's a confidence thing. Most people haven't got that confidence. That's been whittled away from people. That's been, if you like, de-educated out of people over the years, and that's the problem we've got. We've got to rebuild. You've got to rebuild that confidence. It can only come from parenting first. When you used to be kicked out by your parents at school, right? Your first level of education came from your parents. And then when we were sent off to school, our parents expected for that level of confidence and education to be carried on when you went to school, right? And it was back in our day, but not anymore. That has gone,
Not
right?
thanks to the Fabian Society and people
Well,
like Sadiq Khan, our London mayor, and other heads of the Fabian Society.
The Fabian Society, right? What can you say about them? We know what they're like, right? We know what they stand for and what they're all about. They're all about socialism, communism, and it's about anti-government, anti-royalty, anti-Brexit, everything that we all stand for and what we believe to be the right thing. They're against that, right? That's what they're all about.
Look what they said on the video. They said to us that we'll get a refund. They lied. None of us have got a refund. Well, actually, remind me, I've got to sue them.
You know,
I
understand where you're coming from, but that's a minor complaint compared to the fact of what these people are. What you heard in that video really was a load of cheering, load of clapping. The same people that probably stood on their doorstep every Thursday night and went, let's all clap for NHS. Let's all do this, right? Listen, the NHS was overwhelmed long before COVID, right? In fact, it's not overwhelmed now. I've got an oncology appointment on this month, right? And when I go up there, where it used to be wall-to-wall people, there'll only be about 3 or 4 people up there, right? The reason
this is a lot of. Sorry, go on.
Is because the reason for that is because they're still operating under COVID regulations, right? So they're going to spread it out. They're only going to have a few people there. Most of the appointments will all be on the phone, right? Which is what they've done. I haven't seen an oncologist in over 2 and odd years, right? It's nonsense. But it was overwhelmed long before. It's a load of cobblers, all of it. The whole thing is a con from the start. I'm not saying that there weren't no virus going around. There was, right? Even I got it. And I was rough for about 4 or 5 days and then I got over it. But it felt plastic. It felt unusual. It didn't feel like a cold. It didn't feel like the flu, right? It was something completely different. Okay. All I'm saying is, maybe that was man-made. Who knows? We'll never know. None of us will ever know. No more than we will ever know how many rifles we used to blow the brain out of fucking JFK. Right.
But this is the thing. We do need to stay off that subject because we will just be pulled. But it's like you say, people have got to understand one thing about hospitals being overwhelmed. Okay, how they define if the NHS is being overwhelmed is basically critical care units. Okay, the biggest critical care unit we have in the country has 18 beds. So when them 18 beds become mostly full or full, they say, right, we are now at full capacity. We are now under stress. You've got to understand that's how they use it. And I mean, it's becoming ridiculous. I mean, the NHS itself, it's paid for before it's actually used. I mean,
listen, you've got to understand what the NHS and what hospitals really are. Hospitals are military bases. That's what they are. They are military bases, right? They are run by the government. It's the NHS. They are paid by the government. They are systems which are formulated by the government for the government, right, to be able to manipulate, right? That is why the Tory party have tried to, over the years, they've tried to privatise it as much as they possibly can. I mean, what you've got to understand is most of the NHS is privatised already. The food now is privatised. Yeah. The cleaning is privatised, right? All of that used to be by NHS employed staff. It's no longer, right? So the only thing that's left are the doctors and the nurses, right? All the ancillary staff, even the parking, right? The parking is now pushed out to private companies, which is why if you go in now, you've got to pay for it. Nurses have to pay for it, blah, blah, blah. And never used to. You said it earlier on, Nathan, right? Mm-hmm. It's all privatisation, no matter where you go. So the NHS is already being privatised. So don't worry about we've got to stop it. It's already happening. It's been going on for years, right? No, but there ain't no NHS staff that cook the meals now. That's why the food is shit. Because, for a simple reason, it's done by a private company. Yep, the cleaning is the same company. The parking
profit
is
over patient.
Yeah. Rubbish.
But this is the thing. This is where it's like. This is why I think most of us have spent so many years, and I mean many years, push. I mean, when we, like I said with Albert the other evening, when we started, majority of the people didn't even know what the Constitution or what common law was. They thought it was something from the medieval ages.
Yeah.
But now it's out there. It's across the Commonwealth. America's starting to use theirs a lot more again now. So is other countries. It's coming back, and this is what people really need to realise. Every time in our history that we are facing stuff like we are now, where the people are being governed unjustly or ruled unfairly or criminally, we resort back to our constitution. Our constitution is what actually binds these people. It binds Crown and Parliament. So if you want something to actually hold these people to account and stop them from doing what they're doing, it's the Constitution. It always has been. It always will be.
But only if you understand it, right?
But there is enough of us that actually understand it, that if we could just get the right people around the table, the amount of us that do understand it, we could actually explain it.
There is.
We could actually get something going.
There are thousands and thousands of groups out there, right? It's when people come into shows like this and my show and Davey Russell's and everybody else, you only see maybe a few hundred or whatever, right? But in reality, out there are thousands upon thousands of groups exactly the same as us out there. If you actually search for them, they're there, right? Yeah. If something could bring all those groups together into one, it would be massively powerful. But the problem is getting all of those groups together. It's very difficult. Now, because of the internet, it has caused that problem. It's made it worse because it gives everyone the access and the ability to go and make a group, make this and do that and do this. And it keeps people separated. Whereas
I mean, we've actually seen this in the history of the Pendragons and CMW. You get people that will get a bit of the information, and all of a sudden they're running off and they want to lead their own group because.
Oh yeah, because you're always going to get. Listen, you're always, whether you like it or not, you're always going to get people that have got their own interests at heart, one way or another. Whether it be through their own ego, right, which holds people back, or they've got some sort of ulterior motive where they want to make some money out of it. There's always going to be people like that, and you're never going to stop it, no matter what, right? You're never going to stop it, and you've got to understand that that's the only way it's going to work. Why has it only gone to? Oh, we're back again. Okay, I thought we'd lost everybody, but anyway, that's the only way it will work. Is if it's like what you've got now, right? You've got a couple of political parties, haven't you, right, that are sort of going down the same avenue, but they've got their own interests, right? So as soon as, if you could get those people together, right, like the Fox and what's his name? Nathan.
Fox, sorry.
Geezer that's his last name's Fox. He used to have, his dad was a real famous actor.
Lawrence Fox.
Lawrence Fox, right?
Lawrence Fox, yeah.
You got Lawrence Fox and you got other people which are similar to him, and they've got their own parties. If them two parties were to come together, that would give us another choice to vote for, right? But for some reason they can't keep together. They can't come together. You have to ask yourself, why can't these people come together? Why don't they sit around the table and go, okay, let's sort out our, we've obviously got a bit of a difference here. Let's sort it out, because if we can come together, we can get, the support of the public. And they don't seem to do it. Why not? You've got to ask yourself that.
That is something that still upsets me to this day, because it's like back when we first was doing the Pendragons, we did actually we was working on a letter, and we had quite we all remember this, Steve, because I was the one that was doing it, and I was talking to many different constitutional groups, common law groups. We had a mass amount of groups all willing to come together to write one letter to the government.
That's
right. It all got scuppered by one person and his ego, and it's as easy as that. And this is why we've got to be a lot stronger, and we've actually got to really start to push and actually really do this.
Yes, but you see, Nathan, it's very difficult, because the thing is, people are only looking for answers, right? They're looking for answers. They're looking for solutions. They don't necessarily want to know what the problems are. They know what the problems are, right? They're living with it the same as we are. What they're after is solutions. They're after answers and solutions. And they look to people, if you like, to us sometimes to give them those answers, and we don't do that. What we do is we talk about the problems all the time. We all know what the bleeding problems are. We all do, right? The solutions are difficult, and the solutions are difficult because to get the solutions, you've got to get the people together, all thinking on the same page, right? Yeah. And the only way to do that is to give them the answers, because if you give them the answers, they all think the same. And until we can do that, we've got no chance whatsoever. You've only got to look at the history of what we've been doing, right? we've been going on about this. We've been banging on about it for over 15 years, right? Pushing 20 years, some of us, including me. And it's because none of us have got the answers apart from common law and stuff like that. But then people have got to understand it. And that is difficult because common law is not easy. It's not easy to understand. People like yourself, right, can grasp it because you've got an interest in it and you can work it out. Harry's gone for a fag. But that's the problem, right? The vast majority of people can't grasp it too much. When you watch when you listen to a radio show, we tend to go over many different issues, right? Davey does it all the time. He puts a lot of effort into his shows. If you listen to his shows or you watch his show, he'll go through a lot of different things. It's like watching the news, if you like, because he will rattle off one thing after the other and he'll take it out, right? And he'll announce what's going on and give his opinion. It's good, but it's not producing answers. It's the same thing that we all do, right? It's difficult because none of us have got the answers. None of us have. And the problem is there's only one answer, that's common law, but you've got to try and drip feed that. Everybody for the last, 20, 30 years have been drip fed by government over things over the years, drip fed, drip, until in the end, they are what they are today. So to change that, you've got to do the same thing. If you feel people's attention spans are very short. So if you give them too much information, it's not going to be there. Because what happens is they go, I've had enough of this, click, switch off. Because they get bored. Right? I know for a fact that a lot of people that tune into David Russell's show, and he'd probably kill me for saying this, but I'm going to say it, is because they want to see him get pissed and start effing and seeing everybody, right? They want to they watch him to wait and see he gets pissed. That's not right. It's not fair. And it ain't right because he puts a lot of effort into his shows. And I think to myself, if that's all you've got the intelligence to do, just to tune in to somebody who's got that much passion into what he believes, then you shouldn't be there in the first place. You know, why are you there? Why are you there? Ask yourself why you're there. You're just waiting for him to get pissed on radio and live? Is that what you're all about? Is that as serious as you are? Is that how much interest you've got in changing things that you just want to see that? It's pathetic.
I mean, to
Ask
be honest,
yourself.
I actually
blame
question.
David Russell, blame yourself.
I mean, to be honest, I actually question why I'm here. I mean, I'm not meant to be doing this front man talking stuff. I'm meant to have my head in a book. That's how I started, and that's how I see it. It's just I've kind of got pushed into this. Partly yourself, Stephen, to blame for that.
Yeah, well, sorry.
But it is what it is, and it's one of them things. It's kind of if not me, then who kind of thing, and that's what people got to start to realise. We can all sit back, and I'll tell you now, you do 1,000 years of history, and you will never find one single person. You won't find Oliver Cromwell or anyone like that who really done any change by himself. It took the people. Exactly. It took a mass amount of people. So to sit there and think one group or one political party, I'm not being funny when politics is completely corrupt at the moment. Most independents won't stand a chance getting in. I mean, but to think one party or one person or one group is going to change it all and save it all. You're living in a fantasy world. It's going to take all of us. So all the people who want to get into politics, who like Jada Franson and that lot, all the people into common law and the constitution, all the people into all like saving the children, everything like that, the grooming gangs, everybody's going to have to come together, get round a table and actually discuss, like you keep saying, the solutions. There is the solutions, but until the right people get hold of them solutions, they're not going to give them to the people that are listening to them, so they'll never get them.
Nathan, the trick is simple. Stop looking for other people to give you the answers, and look to yourself for the answers, because the answers are there if you look for yourself, right? If you can't be bothered and you look to other people to give you the answers, that's the problem. That's what people are doing today. They're looking for the answers in other people when they should be looking at themselves for the answers, right?
Everybody who's listening and everybody who will watch this, you have more power and you are stronger than you think.
Yeah,
you are life and society is basically designed to chip away at your self-belief. Start having some self-belief. You don't need to stand behind someone like me or Gary or Stephen like that. I mean, there is millions of people that go to London and they go on marches and they do it off their own back. If you could just get that momentum and that will, and if you could get the people to direct it in the right way, then something would happen.
Well, look what happens when
it would make a change.
You know, I said this before. Look what happens when you get 150,000 or even 1 million people up in London demonstrating, and you got let's say for argument's sake in this there's 250,000 people in London, right? There was only something like 2,000, 3,000 cops at the most, and they were able to control and manipulate and corral over 250,000 people, right? Why was that? Why was that, right?
Because
the reason,
acquiescence.
Well, no, the reason that they were able to do that was for two reasons. One, they use a tactic by pulling somebody out the crowd, putting them on the floor. They're surrounded by coppers, sticking a knee in and the batons and mumping another. Most people see that and they go, oh, I don't want that to happen to me. So they go wandering off, right? They go disappearing. That's the fear tactic that they use. That is a tactic that goes back to Roman times. For Christ,
it's funny you mentioned the whole police using their certain tactics of like hemming people in and all that. Like, I've actually been doing a little bit of research on this recently, and it's actually an unlawful act. It's actually an assault. So the police are actually acting unlawful when they kettle you in. They are not allowed. It's unlawful detention. They're not allowed to keep you in one place. It's against the law.
Can I just say something here? Right, there's a comment here, right? It's from Smiler Lewis, right? It says, "Daddy Dragon, English Constitution Party. What you guys think of that? He was a Pendragon leader. Wasn't he the teacher of Constitution, common law, etc.? Wasn't he still saying something?" Well, all I can say to you is, if that's what you want to believe, then you carry on believing it and you carry on following it, right? If you look deeper, you will find that it isn't, okay? But I'm not going to say to you, don't go and do it. Go and do it. I'm not saying that what he puts out isn't true. A lot of it is, right? A lot of it is. It's factual. I'll tell you now it is, right?
There's always no truth.
But what I'm saying to you is there is an underlying other reason, okay? And until you find that out, which you probably will at some point, when you say something that he doesn't agree with, then you'll find out another way. But
I'm not going to get too much into this.
No,
I'm not going to get too much into this.
Your question.
I'm not going to get too much into this, so I ain't going to spend much time on it for you. But I'll say this: the English Constitutional Party, the Constitution is what actually governs and overrule. It basically is the rules that politics has to be run by. So it's an oxymoron. You can't have a constitutional political party. They are two separate things and should never ever be mixed.
Exactly.
So it's an oxymoron.
Yeah,
exactly right.
That's why we always said when we was in the Dragons, the minute it tries to go political, we would leave.
Yeah, because politics and the Constitution and law do not mix. That never the twain shall meet.
In case people are watching this and have never watched it before or understood it before or even heard it before, me and Davy Russell were never given the option when Graham Moore wanted it to be a political party. He just put it into, tried to make it political, and that was one of the reasons why it was rejected. It was rejected by me and David Russell. We didn't agree with it because we weren't even asked, right? Wasn't even notified or spoken about it. We didn't talk about it. It was Graham Moore's decision. That's what he wanted to do. Okay.
It was kind of asked for forgiveness rather than permission.
Well, no, it was more of the case that he thought that was the right thing to do, and that was, but instead of consulting us and asking what our opinion was, we were told that that was what was going to happen, and that wasn't what we was all about.
No,
It was
I mean,
never that way.
It's like me and Gary. Me and Gary can't enter into politics because we've undergone diffidatio. So our fealty to the crown, we have taken away from them. We have now actually give the fealty to the barons because the crown and parliament are acting treasonously and have done for some decades. So under our oath, we cannot get involved in politics because that will then be aiding, abetting, and also conspiring to commit treason.
Yeah,
we can't do that.
You know that because you're educated in that system. Okay, vast majority of people are not. Graham Moore is. He has your level of education, and he knows exactly what you're talking about. Right? If he was listening to this right now, he would probably say to himself, and even though he would never admit it, but he would say Nathan is right. Okay, I know that for a fact, and so does he. Right, but. And who is it? Danny West on here says Danny Dragon is a moron. No, he's not a moron. He's just a clever manipulator of people. What you have to understand is that man is well read, right? He's well read and he's very clever, and he will manipulate people into doing what he needs to do because he's got an ulterior motive. The ulterior motive was always to make money out of it. That is why he wanted it to become a political party. We didn't, right? Me and David Russell didn't. None of us did. And I'm sure when Gary came along and Nathan and everybody else at the time, they didn't want that either, and nor did other people that were involved in it.
This is the thing. The Pendragons actually started in the chat. It wasn't. It was started by us in the chat. The same as the logo, the Pendragon flag, the white ring. That was all decided by people in the chat, and then you, Graham, and Davey were all kind of picked as the heads of the movement. So it was all decided that we was never going to go political, and we was never going to do certain things before even the movement was established properly.
Well, what I fail to understand even now is why anybody, right, worth their salt and had half a cop on would take anyone seriously that wants to call themselves Daddy Dragon. I find that very difficult to understand. That in itself makes my skin crawl, right? I can't understand that. That to me is like turning around and saying to the Dragons, if you like, when it was formed, that this is what I think of you, right? To me, I understand it as that, because if you were serious about what you wanted to do, why would you even keep that to be known about yourself? Daddy Dragon? Don't that make your skin crawl a little bit? It makes mine. So I don't understand that. So when people...
I'm a middle-aged man called themselves Daddy Dragon, yeah.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Exactly that. I find that a little bit odd. I'm sorry. I understand. Listen, this man is well read. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. This guy knows what his stuff. he had 8 years, don't forget, right, to be able to read up on this when he was doing time for defrauding the Bank of England, when he got 8 years in prison. He had plenty of time to be able to read about all this, because that's all you can do in prison is read, right? That's all you can go.
Well, there is other extracurricular activities, but most people don't want to join.
Well, there is, but they won't admit that, will they?
But questions.
Yeah, I know. Dan, you tried to say something there, but it sort of went a microphone.
You could.
No, look. The fact of the matter is, you got to understand there are people out there that have got all good intentions, but they, you know, they're going to make money out of it one way or another. It's something.
I mean, as soon as he got on that road, he was out as a fraud because he allowed to do that step. So he knew from that moment on he was taking the piss out of his own.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, then, right? It's not actually a fraud as such, right? What I mean by that, let me explain. What I mean by that is, what he's saying is true. What he's putting out is real information, right? It's correct information. Okay, not all of it, some of it. When he said you can do you can put in a judicial review and it will only cost X amount of pounds, right? That's complete bullshit.
Well,
right?
it's not just that as well. He was wrong about a judicial review in quite a majority of it, because you can't actually question the government's motive. You can only say, well, the repercussions of something you did isn't quite good, so we need to change that now. You can't attack the government and say you're to blame for this, and that's what he said we could do. It doesn't work like that anymore.
But what I meant was, you're talking about the legality side, right? I'm talking about the cost, right? What he was saying was it would cost so many £100, right? 400 or 600 quid, right? Yeah. Mate, that is far beyond not real. It costs thousands, right? And it can cost hundreds of thousands. It all depends on how long it goes on.
You're talking 250 to 350 just to get a hearing in a court, and that's when that's without barristers, solicitors,
and that's
other bits. That's just to apply to a court.
Yes, and that's only for one judicial review, right? When you turn around and say, "Well, I've got 4, I'm going to put 4 judicial reviews in, and it's going to cost 600 quid," you're deluded.
No, they're about 25. It's about 25 grand to get a judicial review.
If you're lucky,
about 25 to 27, and that's if you're doing most of the work yourself.
Exactly. Right. But we found that out, right? Okay. We didn't know. We didn't know at the time. We were like everybody. We just expected everything what this person was saying was genuine. We put our trust in him, which is what we did, right? It's not a bad thing. Everybody does that. Everybody gets caught sometimes, you know, because we wanted to hear it. We wanted to hear that. We wanted to believe in what he was saying.
Well, it's like you said, we wanted the solutions. We all wanted solutions.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I was saying. We wanted the solution. We wanted answers. So we put our trust in these people. This is what we do. We do that. And we worked it out for ourselves. We looked it up, and when we looked it up, we went, hang on a minute, 4 judicial reviews, 125 grand if you're lucky, and you're putting 1 in. This guy's putting 4 in. What the fuck?
Well, I can actually personally vouch for a lot of what you're saying, because I was actually put in a position of being on the lawful team who actually done the research, the paperwork and stuff like that. I think it was me who actually uncovered the actual price of a judicial review. There's quite a few things that we sort of took his word on, and that's the thing. I did it myself at first. I sort of took his word on it because it's like I've been doing it for very, very quite a few years, but I've been doing it in different areas of law.
You see, I'm looking at the comments on the side there. I don't know who Lawful Rebel is, but it was fraud he got sentenced for, it says there.
That Lawful Rebel is me.
Oh, right. Well, it was, yeah. Well, it was fraud he did get sentenced for. You're quite right. And he got 8 years for it because he defrauded the Bank of England, right? When you go on the internet and you openly admit that's what you did, right? There's two reasons why you would do that. If you're a fraudster and you want to fraud people, the best thing you can do is openly admit that's what you did, because by doing that, what you're doing is you're saying, you're dropping your curtain. There's nothing that you want to be secret. You're openly admitting what you got done for, but then you got to justify what you did and the reason why you did it. And what he used to do was he would imply the reasons as to why he did it to try and make himself look justified. Do you understand what I'm trying to say here? Right? It's about justifying your wrongdoings and making yourself look good at the same time. Although you broke the law, although you're still a fraudster, right? You've got to ask yourself, how did he get caught? We don't know that. We don't know the story behind it. None of us do. The only person that know it is him, right? So you've got to look at it and say, well, hang on a minute. If he's that good at being able to defraud the Bank of England, okay, he got caught. He obviously made a mistake. All criminals normally do. That's how they get caught. There's no such thing as elementary, dear Watson, right? People get caught because of either two reasons. One, the criminal makes a mistake, or two, there's a grass, right? That's how people get caught. Okay. There's no such thing as detective work. That's all bullshit. It's reliant on public information. It's reliant on grasses, and it's reliant on information from people, and it's reliant on the fact that all criminals make a mistake, and that's how they get caught. And that's as simple as that, right? And look it up. If you look at all the nasty people and the criminals in the past, they make a mistake. And that's how they get caught. It's got nothing to do with detection work, right? What they call good old-fashioned coppering, yeah? Well, there ain't no such thing as good old-fashioned coppering anymore, because you ain't got policemen on the beat. They're not a physical deterrent anymore. They're a reactionary force. So if anything happens, you ring them up and you go, ow, somebody's trying to kill me. And then comes a cop car and they turn up. They're not there to walk around a corner like they used to do, right? And to deter people. That was taken away, and that was taken away by people like Sadiq Khan when he closed down all the police stations, took them all off the beat.
Well, that's something I wanted to. That's something I wanted to mention tonight. I mean, the amount of police stations in, and it is. I mean, a lot of people go on about since he's been under mayor, like the rate of knife crime and stuff like that. Do a little bit of like Steve says, take some responsibility yourself. Do a little bit of research into the high crime areas where a lot of murders, stabbings, and violent crimes are happening, and then check out who actually closed the police stations in that area.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the fact of the matter is, if you're just most crimes, ordinary, what they call street level crime, it's all done because they've got the option and the occasion to do it. And the only thing that put people off years ago is because they used to think, well, if I do that, there might be a copper walking on the beat round that corner, and it used to put them off, right? Because they were a physical deterrent. So they took away that physical deterrent, right? So now what you've got a police force in London called the Met, right? Which only turn up if you call them, if you're lucky, right? You go, oh, I'm being killed by now. Somebody's fucking trying to kill me, right? So what happens is they turn up, and that's it. Whereas you ain't got all the bobbies on the beat anymore. And that's what destroyed it. That's why you've got so much knife crime in London, because they know that no copper is going to walk around a corner and might catch them.
How spry are you feeling tonight, Mr. Lang?
How what? Sorry?
How spry are you feeling tonight?
Spry?
Yeah.
That's a new word. What does that mean?
It's not actually. It's a very old word. It just means kind of energetic. I was thinking we could actually change over to and do a restoration where we can actually talk properly.
Oh, well, I can do that. Yeah, that would take me about 10 minutes if you give me time.
Well, for everybody who's listening, what we'll do then is we'll put somebody can put a link into this chat, and then say in about 10-15 minutes we'll be live on Restoration Radio, where we have complete freedom of speech. We can speak completely openly about all this, and we won't get any sanctions. We won't have our channels taken, and then you can actually hear the raw truth. RestorationRadio.co.uk is one of the only places where you will actually hear true freedom of speech, and you'll actually get the truth. You won't
What
get a
I'll do,
sense
if
of
you
version.
stay where you are, I will disappear and I'll go and set it up, right? And I'll get it kicked off. And what I'll do is I'll put the link in YouTube, all right?
Right, you do that, and then
You
send
carry on.
me. Den, are you coming over?
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it.
Well, if Steve, if you got Skype, haven't you, Rick?
Think so. I think so.
Yeah, I think I've got you on my Skype. So, Stephen, when you send me the link, I'll send it to Rick, and then we will all jump on Restoration when you're done.
What I'll do is I'll send it to you via Facebook chat, and I'll post it on Facebook anyway. So
yeah.
All right. See you in a while then.
I don't know if there's not a chat. I don't think, Danny, but I don't really want to leave this running. But there'll be. We'll put if you go to Stephen Lang on Facebook. I suppose we can do the chat on the link, and then we can all have a chat on Facebook while we're listening to it.
We'll sort it out. I'll
That's
see you in a
great,
while
mate.
then. See you in a bit.
All right, then, right. You jump off. We'll carry on, and then we'll carry on for a little while until Stephen's ready, and then basically we'll jump over there because we can speak a lot more openly on Restoration Radio because of the parameters of the actual show and
If
makeup.
I think Danny that's in the comments is one that's mainly supporting Jade or mainly running the maybe jump on and whatever as well, and
How do you feel about that, Daddy? How do you feel about coming on Restoration tonight?
Just thinking
To me, though,
the side of, might be a good bridge to.
Yeah.
Well, this is what we need to start doing. We all need to start talking to each other. So if Danny wants to come on and he wants to ask questions and talk and have a chat and alert people to what's going on that side as well. This is what this is all about. This is what we're trying to achieve here. But sorry, go on.
I was just going to say the crux of the matter really is that people have got to use the tools we've got. But the trouble is you've got too many people out there that want to be the next Wat Tyler. And there ain't going to be no Wat Tyler because no one individual is going to go down in history because it's the people as a unit. And it's like us. We ain't going to be the ones who've come up with the solution. All we're doing is using the tools that our ancestors have left us, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, Article 61, Lawful Rebellion. We're using that to get the results. So it won't be us that's got the solution. It will be the Constitution, which we've said all along. The Constitution is the solution, not anybody's take on the Constitution.
Exactly, it's there in black and white. I mean, you don't have some romantic fantasy about the Constitution and
no.
Put it across like that. The Constitution is there in black and white, like I said, Article 61.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, Wat Tyler. The only reason why we learn about Wat Tyler now is because he was killed. If that man hadn't have been killed, you wouldn't know who Wat Tyler was. I'm telling you now.
Because they wrote him out.
If you actually read the history properly, the group of people that actually went and met the king and got most of it done, and there was a lot of pillaging and rioting along the way by everybody, but the actual group of people that drove the whole thing, they did come from Kent and Essex, but they were anywhere from the working class, they were the middle class, they were bards, they were from different walks of life. I mean, walks of life that normally would not actually mix together or relate with each other. It was because of the amount of tyranny and the oppression that was being put on the people, like we're feeling now, is the reason why it happened. And it was it wasn't just a small group of people who got it done. It was the whole country was up in law.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, the southeast marched on London. Literally, the whole of the southeast marched on London, and that's where you've got to understand. It wasn't just a case of there was this small group of people who done this massively amazing thing. It's the country had enough. I mean, back then you had the the Charter of the Forests, and then you also had like a separate charter that dealt with the towns and the hamlets and stuff like that. So you had people in society and people who lived out of society, i.e. the Charter of the Forest. It was Magna Carta that actually overrid all them, because there wasn't a single person in the realm that the king's tyranny did not touch. So what happened is it got to the point where it mostly wouldn't touch the people, and anything really wouldn't bother the people who works in the forest and done them sort of jobs, because they were outside of society. But it got that bad. The king took so many taxes, and it was mainly overtaxed. It crippled everybody. So everybody just had enough and got to the point where they got to that stage where they went, enough's enough. It wasn't a case of a couple of people who led the charge or anything like that. You've got to remember, this is all of us. We've got to do this together. And that's the key word, together.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying now, Nathan. But you get some people who know the Constitution, but they want to be, put their own spin on it, and they want to, it's like they want to go down in history. I don't want to go down in history. I couldn't give a shit where I am, whether I'm at the back, in the middle, at the front. As long as this gets sorted, I want to get back into obscurity, out the way. I ain't bothered about anything other than getting the country back for our kids and grandkids and future generations to have a decent life. That's all I'm bothered about. I ain't bothered about having my name in the book.
No, I mean, doing the live stuff like that, I'm not being funny. It started off, I was only meant to be helping you out for 3 weeks because some other members weren't free, and it's like now 3-4 years later, and I'm still doing these lives and still doing a bit. I was quite happy with my head in the book, just passing information on. Like I said, I'm not really fussed. I mean, I don't have to lead a charge on anything. I mean, I'll be there if people want me to be there at the table, but it ain't about that. I mean, it's just about, it's now time that the people that do have followings, the people that people do look to, it's about time they started giving the solutions and actually giving the people the right direction. And there is a right direction. History tells us the right direction. And it's about time all group leaders and all figureheads as a whole started to do that. Come to the table, because at the end of the day, whether it takes you a year, 10 years or 20 years, you're eventually going to come to the conclusion that it is our constitution which is actually what resets tyranny and stops these people from doing what they're doing, because it's the only tool we have that is above them. Every other tool is below them. It's not rocket
And
science.
if there's any decent MPs, that's a big if. But there is one or two. It's time for them to grow a pair, grow a backbone, and for them to start preaching the truth and getting the people and getting the following to back them, because that's all it needs. It's a Danny Tech 10 or 15 parliamentary MPs start backing the constitution and start talking to the people and saying, listen, we've been lied to, and it should grow like you would not believe. That's all it would take.
Well, look at what happens when Jacob Rees-Mogg, when it benefits the government or something they want. Look at Jacob Rees-Mogg, like I do, you do, most other people do who are capable. We read all these things off, like the Bill of Rights, Acts of Settlement and stuff like this, Magna Carta, provisions of Oxford. We can all read it, and Jacob Rees-Mogg does the same thing. He reels them off so fluently because he's memorised them. Yet when it comes to actually stand up and going, well, actually, we can't do that. And he does on occasions, but this is what we need. We need MPs who are actually versing it, who are actually taught, and they are taught the Constitution, because most of them have an education that is of a level where they're still taught their inalienable rights. That's why they get away with a lot more. They have trust funds and stuff like that, and we don't, because they're taught a lot more than we are. We're just taught enough just to keep us working and useful, basically. But we need it. We need the MPs to start doing it. Sorry, go on, mate.
The case, that's what
Gina Miller case,
Well, look at the Gina Miller case. This is the thing, and I was going to mention this the other night. I mean, even in that, if you read the Gina Miller case, the Supreme Court upheld the Bill of Rights, 1689, because they had to. They had no choice, because they didn't have the authority to do away with it or go against it. And this is the thing, and that was in 2017. The system does know about the Constitution. They all know. These judges know about the Constitution, and they know that it governs what they do, and they know what a law is and what is constitutionally repugnant. It's just because we are not taught enough to know what's constitutionally repugnant or what's contrary to common law. We don't come forward and address it. We need to stand up and start addressing these things.
Yeah. Of course, that's why they're doing it, because there's now people questioning it.
Sorry, go on, Mick.
That case, to be honest, because at that point, seemed to have awakened a lot of people to lawful solutions, and it kind of ignited a fire that's not gone out. I mean, they're all running about different going. They're waiting. Wasn't before, so.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, it's happened in record time. I mean, the information is getting. I mean, Stephen said there, 30 years to trickle it down. It doesn't take 30 years to trickle it down. In fact, actually, I would say, with people like Albert Burgess and other people that are, I mean, Albert Burgess' Layman's Guide to the Constitution. I mean, gives you a very good grasp of the Constitution and a lot of what you should know. Common law isn't amazingly difficult to understand. It all centers around three things: no loss, no harm, and there is fraud statutes within there. So there's fraud is mixed in there, but it's fairly simple. It's common sense. This is the thing that people got to realize about common law. Common law is common sense. And we all know what's right and wrong. You know if you're doing something that's wrong because you feel it within inside yourself. No one can lie about that. So if you know it's wrong, it's common sense. If something's wrong, it's contrary to common law. If something's right, then it usually will be backed by common law.
Exactly.
It's one of them. That was a bit of a broken solution, and I did say at the time, but Gerard Patton's position where he could have made actual change. You know, he knows about the Constitution. He could have done something. He had Tommy in. Get why he didn't try and guide people to the lawful solutions. That should have been part of his, like that. It's so if that would have been part of his campaign or whatever to remove it or whatever, that in itself would, alleviate a lot of other problems elsewhere. You can't stand up on them. So that would have been my if that was. Yeah. But he didn't seem to go down that road.
Because he was too worried about his pension.
Yeah,
that's why.
I'd say so. But
So that's why he'd never share the stage. That's why sorry, Rick.
Go on, go.
But that's why he'd never share the stage with me or Nathan or both of us, because he knew that he was frightened that we was going to call him. We was never going to call him out because we needed him on side. But he was always scared that we was going to go on the stage and say, this next to me has done this, that, and the other. And why ain't he speaking there? But we would never have done that because we would have caused division, and we ain't in it to cause division. He's the one who caused the division because it stood out a mile himself. He did it himself.
Yeah. This is it. I mean, to me, was enough to have wrote a book to use, and he's not done. I'm calling fraud. I don't care what anyone says. That's it, right? I've viewed him in person a few things and whatever. He says the right things, but his position to do something, or it was, and he didn't even mention it, and then like, I won't share stage. That in itself, to me, many people just won't call it out for what it is. It's like, It's a simple question. He's wrote 2 books on it. Why are you not putting it simple as that? If people are asking, you know, I was
right
doing everything because for the so funny.
No, right. The link to restoration is now in the chat. So everybody who wants to come over and listen to restoration, the link is in that chat. I'm going to end this in a minute, and then we're all going to jump on restoration. So if you want to finish what you were saying before we go, Rick, and we'll jump over there.
Just but I mean, with politics, knowledge of what is 2 books. If that hand in hand was going to work, should have worked, guys. That's should have angling for. Didn't happen. I can't understand why. But the people that are heading into politics, if they're on that, maybe Jade or something like that, you know, to me that a good thing to put in their action or whatever, because to me that was maybe not at the time, years ago, but now people can see the problems even more so. To deal with a lot future problems. To me, that's a good thing for somebody like Jada to.
Yeah. Well, it would be because if you're the party and you've learnt the Constitution, you're going to do things, you know, and bring back the Constitution in there. You'll send shockwaves through anyway, because they think, shit, we've actually got a party coming in that knows a shit. We ain't going to get away with it. Anything what we've been getting away with for years, with the elites being our puppet masters, because you can hold them accountable. And
right,
it would be a good idea to put that in.
I'm going to cut this off because Stephen's ready now.
2 seconds, Dave.
Wrap this up.
Yeah. 2 seconds. Thanks everybody for watching. I ain't going to be able to come on today now. It's 2:20 for me here.
That's all right. Even if you jump on for 20 minutes or not, it's up to you. If you can't, you can't.
Yeah, I'll try, but it's 2:20 here now, man. But thanks for watching, guys, and look for the links on mine or Nathan's Facebook page for the next one. That's if we've still got a channel, because they might just take it off.
Yeah, they usually do. But right, yeah, thanks for joining.
If not, we'll make another one and give the link anyway.
Yeah, if you want, go on to mine, Gary's, or Stephen Lang. His profile picture is a dog's nose. So if you go onto one of them, there will be a place where we can all chat on there while we're listening to the radio. So guys, there, please click the link. Restoration Radio. It's where you're going to hear the unbridled truth.
Yep.
Right. Thank you all for joining.
And what's
Say again.
Can you send me? I've not.
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll add you in when I get the link. So I'll sort it all out.
Right.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for staying as long.
Speak to you all soon.
All right. Stay safe, everyone. Night.
Yeah. Night.